Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning.
President. Good morning to you. Thank you so much.
Clearly, you can see there's something wrong with us already. But it's not me, it's this person to my right. Okay, this is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Board of Fire Commissioners. It's the 1st of October. Renee, can you call the roll?
President Hudley Hayes,
Here?
Vice President DeLugas,
Here.
Commissioner Woods Gray,
Here.
Fire Chief Crowley,
Here.
Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Here.
Thank you. Chief Crowley,
Renee, hi, can you call the
oh, the ones that are
ones
missing.
who are missing so that there's a record that they're not here?
Commissioner Hara,
And Renee, can you just confirm that we have a quorum?
you have a forum.
Thank you.
Okay. Chief Crowley?
Okay, if everybody could please stand, hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing and join me in a moment of silence in honor of our past and present members of the Los Angeles City Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to the first item, which is commission comments. Commissioner Woods Gray?
Oh, my only comment is good morning, Chief Crowley. It's nice to see you here again.
Thank you.
We've missed you.
Missed you too.
Vice President DeLugas? My only comment is I want us to keep Dr. Hara in our thoughts today. He's having surgery today. It's not a serious surgery, but he is having surgery, and anytime you have surgery, there's always the slightest possibility that something might go wrong. And I am of the belief that prayer is the biggest internet in the world. So if we can all just fling some thoughts his way, that would be great. We're now going to move on to public comment. Renee, we don't have any, do we? No comment cards? Okay, that brings us to 3, report of the fire chief, and I agree with Commissioner Woods Gray. It is so lovely to see you and have you here.
Chief Crowley.
Chief Crowley. You wanted me to call her name out? Okay.
Well, good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning
And
to you.
good to see everybody, and welcome everybody, especially our visitors, and we get to highlight some amazing work of our LAPD partners today. So I will be just commenting very briefly on my meetings and events from September 17th through September 30th. September 17th through the 19th, I traveled to Boston, Massachusetts, and was honored to be part of the Urban Fire Forum. We had a number of international fire service leaders as well as fire service leaders from the United States, and we discussed a number of topics and created position papers on some very, very important topics. Some of the things I just wanted to share with a group here that we discussed were enhancing fire safety, addressing the challenges of homelessness and immigration. I mean, all of these topics are top of mind across the nation as well as internationally. Ethical use of artificial intelligence in the fire service, NFPA lithium-ion battery research. We're going to talk briefly about an incident that occurred in San Pedro dealing with lithium-ion batteries. PFAS, that's a forever chemical, and this is PFAS-free gear, navigating challenges and potential impacts on fire service operations. And another important topic that we discussed was decontamination considerations for lithium-ion exposure. So a lot of information and takeaways from that Urban Fire Forum, and my team's already discussing and figuring out better ways that we can provide service and keep our firefighters safe. Directly from Boston, I flew into Colorado Springs from September 19th to the 21st, where I was honored to be a part of the International Association of Firefighters Firefighter Memorial. And I tell you, every year we go, and it's purposeful action that the department will take, but I cannot give enough accolades to the International Association of Firefighters, as well as our labor partners with President Escobar and his team. Our Relief Association does an amazing job, and I tell you, it takes everybody to come together to make sure that we continue to honor and remember our fallen firefighters. Well, lo and behold, this year on the Wall of Honor, as they call it, from the United States and Canada, the IFF honored 308 members, and their names went on that wall. And just think about that: 308 families, friends, loved one, mentors, departments were impacted by the individuals that lost their lives. And I tell you, it's such an honor to be a part of this each and every year. It's very emotional. But I tell you, from the IFF's leadership and UFLAC's leadership and the Relief's leadership, the families and our 7 members that went on the wall just felt the love and support across that entire weekend. I did want to take the time to make sure that as we honor and remember our 7 fallen firefighters, that we remain diligent and we say their names. It's purposeful action that we say their names, we see their names each and every year. So I wanted to just take a moment to make sure that we honored and remembered our 7 fallen firefighters from the LAFD that were placed on the Wall of Honor. That's Captain 2, Sean Stilson, Firefighter 3, Richard G. Tucker, Firefighter 3, Keorki DePorter, Firefighter 3, Brian G. Corntassel, Firefighter 3, Paramedic Valerie Roberts, Firefighter 3, James L. Sticklich, and Firefighter 3, Paramedic Daniel Ramirez. Those were the 7 members that were honored specifically from the LAFD, and again, thank you to the IFF and UFLAC and their leadership and President Escobar. Moving on to another event that I was honored to be a part of, that was on September 22nd. That was the Dodgers Firefighter Appreciation Day. And what an incredible event to jump into following that very emotional memorial. But the Dodgers do such an amazing job each and every year. They bring together our local fire departments, and we had the opportunity to highlight our air operations. They were on the field. We also highlighted our cadets. They got to be on the field as well. And also a large number of our regional fire chiefs that are representing their fire departments. The good news is the Dodgers beat the Colorado Rockies in the 9th inning rally to beat them, and we won, we as in the Dodgers and the city, won 6-5. That was a really fun game to be a part of, and an incredible opportunity to highlight our first responders in Firefighter Appreciation Day. September 24th, this is a reception that I attended. This was the Central City Association, CCA. It was a Chief of Staff's reception, and I don't know if everybody's aware, but how difficult a job is for any chief of staff across the fire department, let alone the city. So that was our opportunity to come together and recognize all of our chief of staff. So I want to shout out my chief of staff, which is Chief Dixon. He's doing an amazing job, and that was great to be able to highlight him. Thank you for that. And lastly, September 26th, went over to LAX and was part of the LAWA presser. And I want to spend just a little time. This is a direct correlation with some of the things that we did in Boston. And we keep talking about this PFAS. This is that forever chemical. We're working very, very closely with labor on this as well. And I can tell you, we are in step when it comes to ensuring that our firefighter safety, health, and well-being is always out front. So LAWA's taking a very proactive approach, and they just completed a project where they're removing PFAS foam from our firefighting rigs. This is a very high-level type of an event in which they are the first airport in California to transition to PFAS-free foam. So anytime our people are exposed to PFAS is a negative thing that could negatively impact their health and well-being. So I applaud LAWA and the CEO, who is John Ackerman, for taking a proactive approach, and also our team over at LAWA from the fire department that continues to strive and find out different ways to keep our people safe. So they focused on their 14 ARF rigs, and that's their aircraft rescue and firefighting resources, and they utilized a special process to remove all that PFAS foam, and now it's going to be a PFAS foam free type of a firefighting foam, which is a big step forward for us. So I wanted to highlight all the great work that's happening over in LAWA, and that's my end of report. Thank you.
Thank you. That moves us to item B, which is going to be the oral report for significant incidents and activities, and we're going from the 17th to the 30th. Good morning, Chief Fields.
Good morning, Madam President. As well as Vice President Lukic.
Good morning.
Council, Board Member Jimmy Woods Gray, Chief Crowley, Madam City Attorney, distinguished guests in the audience. My name is Richard Fields. I'm Deputy Chief Commanding Operations Central Bureau. And I'll be reporting on two significant incidents that happened in the time period. And I just want to make notice of the fact that these two represent actually 15 what we would consider greater alarm or a major emergency structure fires that have happened in our part of the city. A large number of those are commercial buildings that are vacant, that continue to pose an ongoing risk to our firefighters' health and safety, just highlighting the need for us to continue to grow our ranks and to get resources that are able to deal with these growing emergencies in the city of Los Angeles. On the afternoon hours of Friday, September 21st, firefighters responded to 1158 North San Fernando Road, and that's in Fire Station 44's district, about the northeast part of the city. Councilwoman DeLucas is familiar with that area. This would be in Council District 14. And what was unique about this building, it was state-owned. It was once used as a state courthouse. Oh my God. This building was 100 feet by 200 feet of commercial space, currently not in use for several years. Recognizing that there was no possibility to effect life rescues after doing the type of search that they could under those fire conditions, and that property conservation was negligible, firefighters deployed in the defensive mode. Due to those, in that defensive mode is to take a conservative posture in firefighting as opposed to going inside in a very aggressive attack on that fire. Due to that, the large volume of fire, the additional companies were requested to support that firefight, to conduct additional or necessary forcible entry. Very little ventilation took place on that fire, but just to get access to so we could get heavy streams in there, those measures were taken by the incident commander. Obviously, we deployed resources to make sure that first responder medical was covered, as well as adding heavy equipment, which was integral in this particular incident because of the instability of the building after the fire. Again, that defensive posture was maintained for about 67 minutes that it took to knock down the initial fire, and then property protection profile was implemented on what we called the exposure, which was on the southeast side of the main fire building, or the Bravo side as we index it commonly on the LAFD. This, to be noted also, no damage was sustained by that exposure, by the aggressive defense of our firefighters on scene. Again, due to the number of resources and personnel that this incident required, it grew into a major emergency structure fire that was initially under the command of Battalion Chief Logan Fields, who was working in Battalion 2 that day, and then transitioned to Assistant Chief Melford Beard, while Chief Fields maintained operational control of that fire during its duration. It took about, just over, again, I said 67 minutes, but resources were on scene a totality of about 2 hours and 40 minutes. And the drawdown that it took, and then it was a 6 to 7 hour total commitment by the LAFD just to make sure that the building was turned over to the proper hands and presenting no immediate threat to the community or to our firefighters. The second incident that I'd like to report on happened on September 27th at 751 North Normandy Avenue, or correction, South Normandy Avenue in Fire Station 9's first alarm district, and this again was in Council District 14. The first arriving companies arrived in about 4 minutes and discovered a one-story row of commercial occupancies with fire showing from the alley side, or that Charlie side of the building as we index it normally on the LAFD. When resources reached the rear, they reported 2 units that were actually involved with fire. And our firefighters deployed in an offensive mode, a very aggressive attack on that fire to preserve the uninvolved structures surrounding it. And due to that amount of fire, additional resources were requested to support the firefight, to conduct forcible entry, initial search, really aggressive ventilation to support the firefighting activity on the inside, to respond to first responder medical, and then ultimately salvage operations. A short period of time, there was a defensive posture taken on this fire, but we were able to mitigate it, remaining in the offensive mode because it was safe for firefighters to do so. The initial command of this fire, or because of the resource deployment, it grew into a greater alarm structure fire. This was commanded by Battalion Chief Scott Anderson, working at Battalion 1, and then eventually transitioned to Assistant Chief Paul Pham at Command 22, while Chief Anderson maintained operational control of that fire. Both of the fires that I reported on are still under investigation by our arson unit due to the scope and complexity of the fires. But I want to make the commission aware of the fact that given that both of these fires happen in the same council district, we are proactively and regularly collaborating with the council office and other elected and community stakeholders to address fires like this, the things that we can do proactively, either in a preventive measure or in a way where we have to go out and fight those fires, that it minimizes the risk to our firefighters. And those conversations and meetings are happening ongoing so that we can find collaborative or explore collaborative solutions in the future to address issues like this. That's the end of my report, unless there's any questions by the commission.
I just have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
And just to satisfy my own curiosity, I heard you mention that sometimes you take a defensive posture and sometimes you take an offensive posture.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me the difference?
Absolutely. Using a sports analogy, when you're on the offense, you're moving forward, you're being aggressive.
It's like a
When you-
football team.
Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes you're on the offense and you're moving forward and you're doing whatever you need to do, and then sometimes you're defensively defending what you've already managed to either knock down or take. You've made that little ring like we see in when there are big conflagrations, so that you
Yeah.
kind of get your hands around it, and then you're defending it so that it doesn't flare up again.
Well, just if I can
think.
be a little more specific, it really initially in our firefight, an offensive strategy is actually taking hose lines inside the structure, putting a truck company on the roof to perform ventilation operations to support that firefight. In a defensive operation, we're not going inside. And those modes, that offensive or defensive mode, is determined by our risk strategy, right? If we have lives to save, we verify that there may be people inside, an apartment building, a home, probably going to go offensive because there are lives to be saved, and our aggressive action can do that. Once we determine that there are no lives to save, and now we're in the property conservation mode, we're determining, okay, how much of this property can we save? Can we save an office? Can we save vital records? Or is our biggest priority to save the buildings that are surrounding that main fire building. And based on that risk analysis, we determine the mode. And again, all of that is validated against safety for our firefighters. Can we safely take this operation? And so we put the onus on our incident commanders to make that call, and then the remainder of that operation is handled that way, unless we take a tactical pause and determine that now we can go inside safely, maybe put out hot spots or things like that, or conduct a more thorough search for, inside the building.
Okay, thank you. I have a question for you. When we have big fires like this, I know that we get a lot of resources that need to be called to one place, which then leaves lots and lots of other places uncovered. So this is the problem that we have when we aren't funded, when we don't have enough people, when our rigs get caught in the shops. Because what happens is you've got to move up companies. I finally have figured out what that move up companies means.
Correct.
Do we think that the mayor's office, the budget people, the council people understand the critical issue when we don't have enough personnel and we don't have enough rigs, and they tend to believe that we're very much like every other department in the city when in fact we're not? I'm wondering if we need to give them a workshop.
Sure. So we certainly work very,
Sorry.
so we work very, very closely with the mayor's office. They're well aware of our definitive needs and really how busy we are. Again, getting back to our plain metrics, running over 500,000 calls last year with 68 less people than we had in 2010, with a 55% increase in call volume. So we have communicated that. We're working very closely with city leadership. They are well aware of any major incident that happens. We communicate and reach out to the mayor's team as well. So I do believe that they are aware, and as we're coming up to our 25-26 budget, we're validating and justifying our ask. So we're going to continue to communicate and advocate for the positions that we need to properly fund and staff our department.
Okay. I am wanting to say that I believe that you advocate. I don't believe that they understand. I just need to just make that statement. I don't think that they understand the critical needs that we have. I think you communicate it to them, and I don't know how we do a better job of that. But Chief Crowley, I don't believe that they do understand. I don't believe that they understand, because when you explain it and you say, well, we're going to lose 68, we're losing 68 people or something like that, that's not really what we're losing. We're losing a lot more than that. And what it does is if the mayor and the mayor's office expects us to continue to deliver the excellent service that we deliver, by the way, on a shoestring, I think we have to do something that's a lot more dramatic, like they need a workshop. I'm going to keep saying that, because I don't believe that they, I think that who you are and what you do because of your intellect, I think you explain this to them, you're very pragmatic about it. But I think we need to do something that's a bit more dramatic. I think we need to get off of that page, and we need to try to figure out how to really and truly do something that's a little more dramatic. I suspect that they say, yes, we understand, yes, we're aware, but I don't think they understand the ripple effect. And maybe that's what we should be saying to them. Do you understand that when this many resources gets called to this particular thing, let us explain to you what happens in the rest of the city, because we don't think you get it. And we want to make it very clear. I don't know. It's just something that I'd like to talk to you about, because we're coming up on the beginning of a budget cycle, and I think we're going to have to use some different kind of language.
Yeah, we'll continue to work very closely with you on the strategies for sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So now we're going to have that oral report for medical emergencies.
We've got a couple more on the emergency
Oh, I'm
operations
sorry. Do we
side.
have some more
Yeah,
for the?
2 more.
Got way more to talk about here. Good morning. My name is Philip Flegel. I'm the Deputy Chief in charge of Operations West Bureau, and today I'm going to be highlighting an incident that actually happened in Operations South Bureau. And again, good morning, Madam President, Fire Chief Crowley, Madam City Attorney Renee, honored guest, our brothers and sisters in blue, and Captain Kingsland. My name again is Phil Flegel from Operations West Bureau. And again, last time I was here, we talked about the trench rescue last commission meeting. And again, I'm here to talk to you about another interesting and unique incident that we had in South Bureau. And I'm here to speak on Chief Gutierrez's behalf because he's not able to make it here today. So on September 26th, approximately 11 o'clock in the morning, LFD firefighters and paramedics responded to reported auto rollover with a semi-truck trailer. LAFD resources were on scene in 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and the incident was located in Fire Station 40's First Inn and CD 15. Bless you. Upon investigation, there were no injuries found, but the tractor trailer began to smoke. The incident was upgraded to a hazardous materials incident response. Upon arrival of specialized hazardous materials firefighters, it was identified the container actually had an unknown amount of lithium-ion batteries inside, which seemed to be off-gassing. A few moments later, the container had an explosion and then began to go into a thermal runaway. To kind of define what a thermal runaway is, it's a chemical reaction that lithium-ion batteries have. And once this starts, it's unable or it's very difficult to make it stop, and there's really no good way to put the fire out. So we'll talk a little bit more about how that works and what became challenges that came from that. So the area was evacuated and roadways and railways were shut down. Upon further investigation, it was found the container actually had an energy storage system which contained a significant amount of lithium-ion batteries inside of it. Because of the delicate nature and unknown potential significant dangers that were at stake, and out of the abundance of civilian caution, environmental concerns, and firefighter safety, the strategy was implemented to allow the batteries to off-gas and burn while protecting exposures and evacuating necessary areas. Again, that defensive strategy that we put into it. Compounding the incident was a problem that the incident actually was located just on the eastbound off-ramp of the Vincent Thomas Bridge. Because of the evacuation order, the Vincent Thomas Bridge in both directions was closed. And also several port terminal roadways were also affected along with the railways. This led to a stoppage of work in 4 port terminals and created a ripple effect in commerce from the city of Los Angeles and the city of LA all the way to the East Coast. Because of this incident, it was estimated that a burn rate loss of $1.5 million was occurring every hour because of the loss and closure of those roadways. So getting back to the incident, due to this incident's scope and complexity, an expanded incident organization was developed over the next 2.5 days. Led by the LAFD command staff and other members and multiple specialized LAFD resources from the entire department, along with stakeholders, cooperators, federal, state, and local government agencies, were all brought together to go through a thorough and extensive safe and methodological mitigation plan. Again, this was all led by your LAFD. The first operational period, what we did is basically let the container burn and protect exposures in that defensive mode so we can come up with a game plan for the next day. On the following day, a mitigation plan was developed and approved with all the agencies that bought in on the incident action plan. And the idea, basically, without getting too much into it, was to get this turned over a tractor-trailer truck. So the tractor is the thing that drags the trailer, is to separate the two, get the tractor out of the way, now get the trailer that was burning or smoldering at this point, get it on a metal plate to lift it up onto another called a low boy container to put it back into so we could drag it off the roadway and get into a safe location. So sounds relatively easy, but when you have these hazards, well, again, your LAFD resources is the people that put the plan into play and have the equipment and the knowledge to put that all, to make it all happen, to make it work. So over the next 6 hours, they put this plan into motion using our heavy equipment operators, has some materials experts, our unmanned drone systems. I could go down a lot of the things that we use along with other agencies, but it was a very big footprint of people there to make this happen safely. So we separated everything, got everything done, taken care of within 6 hours. And while this all took place, we were standing by for firefighter safety, for medical issues, and if there was any other problems we encountered with fire-wise, we were there to have a contingency plan to take care of that stuff. So 6 hours later, we took care of it, got it off the roadway, and at 3 p.m. on the 27th, the roadways were back open again, and Commerce was able to pick up again. So overnight, they established a fire watch, and now it's under the control of the U.S. Coast Guard to take care of the rest of the mitigation, get that on the offsite area. But again, it just kind of highlights the diversity and agility of LAFD specialized resources. Members' training, knowledge, and dedication that we had a successful and safe mitigation to this unique incident. And honestly, we can't make this stuff up. Who would ever guess that we'd be doing this in this day and age and actually having to make up plans to take care of these things? And again, LAFD has the personnel and knowledge to do that along with other agencies. And it just goes to highlight the fortunate the people of Los Angeles have the fortune of living here to have the type of training and diversity that we have with our members to have this happen 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. I'm pretty convinced that any other fire department in the nation would have a longer outreach and maybe a longer plan that would not have gotten done as fast as we did and as safe as we did it. That's all I have to say about this incident. Any questions that I can answer for you about it at all?
It just seems easy to you. It doesn't sound easy to us. It sounds like this was a monumental undertaking,
Yes, ma'am.
which talks about the fact that we are the best fire department in the country.
Agreed. Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you.
I kept waiting every minute to see if there was going to be an explosion of some kind, because I sat on pins and needles saying, please don't let it explode. But they did an excellent job of taking care of that particular situation. Chief, I wonder if anything, we had another explosion earlier. Did anything from that help with this particular incident?
Are you talking about the explosion from one of our vehicles? We had a vehicle explosion. We had one down
That
in
was
the
a
harbor.
truck or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. It's kind
thinking we were-
of. I think that sense of heightened awareness, if anything, is always in the forefront of our people's minds. Definitely some lessons learned on that original one, and mind you, that was an LPG tank that had exploded with one of the tractor trailers. This was a completely different level when you talk about the hazards of a lithium-ion battery. Now, this was a 4x6 times 3 of those that were causing us the issues. So when they're damaged, that's that thermal runaway. Now, we have to make sure that we actually do give the accolades across what our members were able to do in an incident like that to keep our people safe, to keep the community safe, and to mitigate that very high potential of life loss and property loss. So we're extremely proud of the work that our people did. And I tell you, I couldn't be prouder of how quickly they did it, but also how safely our members actually handled that situation. You spoke about an explosion. It did explode. There was an initial explosion that we caught on a drone footage. So mind you, our people were so smart about it and safe that we already had a 1,000-foot perimeter because we had our subject matter experts that were on scene, and even the initial companies came on scene and they looked at this as like, this isn't right, and they knew. So they put their training, into practice and went ahead and moved forward and did it very, very safely. I can tell you the amount of accolades that the port is pushing towards this entire incident. They're extremely pleased with the way that the fire department and the other local agencies worked together seamlessly and a unified command, and to do it in that short amount of time and do it safely is something to be very, very proud of, and also to make sure that we share that with our other regional partners and across the United States, because these incidents are likely to happen more and more as the lithium-ion batteries are becoming more of how we are going to store energy.
Very good. Yeah, they definitely are to be commended for the work. It was wonderful.
I was just going to say, I don't think there's a lot of awareness about the danger of ion lithium batteries. This is all news to me. And I don't know if there's anything that would help if there were more public awareness about it, or if this is just something that our professionals handle and we will just, cross our fingers and hope for the best. But is there anything that, would it be helpful for people to be more aware of the dangers of that?
Right, and we actually have a very strong public campaign in regard to just small lithium-ion batteries from the e-mobility, as we call them, from the scooters, the bikes. New York, FDNY was really taking a proactive approach on the east side of the United States, because what people are doing is storing those e-mobility scooters and bikes in high rises. and different types of apartments. So we have had our incidences, and we're seeing those more and more. So the public campaign of public education will continue, and even learning as we go, as proactive as we are from the first responder side, our members are have a very heightened awareness. We have training bulletins, departmental bulletins, in-service training. Everybody understands what's at risk with these types of incidents, and this one was specifically dangerous because of the amount of energy storage systems, as they call them. And mind you, these are going to be going up and down the railroad, up and down our freeways more and more. So the good news is that our people understand how to mitigate these types of emergencies.
And the other thing that we're happy about is that this is why you sit on a federal commission, so that you are able to bring all of your expertise and all of the training that you do here. So once again, we want to thank you because you are also now putting that to work at the federal level.
Thank you.
Who in our department deals with the ion lithium batteries?
So as for our subject matter experts, those are our hazmat individuals that are highly trained in hazmat. We have our JHAT. We've got a whole team that works towards the training side, which is in-service training, versus the response and mitigation, which we call in our subject matter experts. We have a first responder training side of what and how we could actually deal with this initially to call out the proper resources. But we do have subject matter experts on our department that we pulled into these types of incidents, and they're actually are part of our, let's say, secondary response, because anything that's hazmat or hazardous materials, and even we have hazmat material experts on our fire prevention side in our CUPA. So we have a multi-tiered approach, and I tell you, everybody was part of bringing a solution to this particular incident, and that's, I believe, why we were able to mitigate it and do it safely.
But who do I go to if I want to get more information?
Okay, we'll connect you with the right people after
Okay,
this.
'cause I have some in my house, in my car.
Sure.
I need to know.
Sure, we'll definitely connect you with the right people.
And we don't want you blowing,
I don't want
we don't want you
blowing.
blowing yourself up at home
Or in your car.
or in your car. Okay. Sorry, Chief Moore, we're just having a fractious day.
That's okay.
Okay.
I think it was a great discussion. It highlights the dangers of lithium-ion batteries, and I think everybody needs to know about those dangers. So thank you. Good morning, Madam President, Vice President DeLugich, Commissioner Jimmy Woods Gray, Chief Crowley, City Attorney Nguyen, Renee, Captain Kingsland, and all of our guests. I'm going to make this very brief because I really want to get to the presentation. I see a lot of my friends from LAPD out there, and I really want to see the presentation of their recognition for their heroic efforts. So my name is Deputy Chief Jamie Moore. I am the commander, very proud to be here representing the hard work of the men and women of the Operations Valley Bureau. And I'm going to highlight for you another greater alarm structure fire, and you will once again hear about our tactics. This fire occurred on September 13th in Fire Station 72's district. It was a greater alarm, happened very early morning hours, 1:51 in the morning. The street was Galt Street, and what our resources found when they got on scene was a 75 by 250 foot single-story commercial occupancy that was doing business as an auto body shop, with very heavy fire in all 5 bays of the structure. The firefighters deployed in a defensive mode in order to knock down the bulk of the fire, and they were able to extinguish the fire in a matter of a short time, very, very short time, without any injuries at all. They kept the fire confined to the 5 bays where the fire started, with no extension. And to highlight the number of resources it takes to do something like that, I think it's important that we recognize that there were 12 fire companies there. There were 3 rescue ambulances, 1 of our EMS captains, and 2 battalion command teams, in addition to our assistant chief who responded to oversee the extinguishment of this fire. In total, if you look at it, by the time resources were off site, it was 1 hour in total from the initial response to the fire to them leaving the incident. The other thing I'm going to highlight is the hard work that we're doing with Council District 6. Councilmember Padilla's office in regards to the Sepulveda Basin. As you remember, on June 24th, we had an explosion that occurred fighting a brush fire, and one of our firefighters was severely injured, almost losing his ear. So we've been working very hard, very collaboratively with all the parties there. And I've just received this email this morning, and it highlights just the work that's actually been going on there. This email came from the Sepulveda Basin Wildlife Area Steering Committee, and what they said was it was very clear at the Army Corps of National Public Lands event that occurred on September 2nd, combined with the California Native Plant Society, Friends of LA River, and the San Fernando Valley Audubon activities have become a big success. They had a chance to talk with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Rangers, staff, as well as recreation and park rangers, along with members of the Los Angeles Fire Department regarding the safety issues in the Sepulveda Basin, including the fires and other challenging situations and they were able to come away with a lot of useful information, knowing that we are making some progress there. The Sepulveda Basin continues to have fires. The database of the fires we have shows that since June 7th, 2024, we've had a total of 97 fires there. So the fires are continuing, but they're much smaller in magnitude. We're not seeing the large acreage that we've seen in the past, and that's because of our collaborative efforts. And I want to commend Battalion 10, who spearheaded the lead in putting together a Google form that allows all the parties involved to know what's happening in the basin. And that information is shared with Council District 6 because the council members been very diligent in trying to get LASA, Parks and Recs, sanitation out there to try to remove some of the remnants of these homeless encampments and trying to get these individuals housed so that we can try to address the issues that are taking place in the basin. That's all I have for my report, unless you have any questions.
Do you have a question? Oh, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I heard you say that there have been 98 fires?
97.
97 fires in the Sepulveda Basin?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you saying that that's been this year?
Since June 7th of this year.
Do we think they know that?
We are working.
Exactly, one council member does.
Right. So,
I understand the councilman does.
yes, the mayor's office is aware, and we are working towards, and that's the unfortunate but fortunate thing. When we have a significant incident, we have to step back and look at it holistically and figure out how we got here and how we can alleviate any issues in the future for this to happen again. Sepulveda Basin historically has been a very problematic area, so we're working very closely with the council office. The mayor's office is aware. That's the overall game plan and mitigation strategy to make sure that we have a plan moving forward so that we decrease the amount of risk to our firefighters and the individuals that are housed there. So again, the collaboration, I'd like to commend Operations Valley Bureau for taking a proactive approach. We've met at the highest of high levels with the GMs, as well as the mayor's office and the council member's office too. So everybody who needs to know about knows about it, and now it's a matter of putting together that overall strategy to ensure that we clean that area up and reduce the risk.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, are we on to medical emergencies now?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I'm not tracking well. I'm frustrated
Good morning.
about money.
Good morning, Madam President, Vice President, Commissioner, Chief Crowley, City Attorney, Captain Kingsland, Renee, command staff, and guests. My name is Tim Werfel, and I'm proud to be the newly appointed Deputy Chief of the Emergency Medical Services Bureau. And today I'd like to share an incident that occurred at 1:35 in the morning of September 25th in downtown LA. And I'm glad I chose this incident today because of the attendance by our brothers and sisters of the LAPD. So On that morning, LAPD SWAT and the LAFD Tactical Emergency Medical Support, also known as TEMS, received notification that LAPD was in pursuit of an MTA bus that had been hijacked with possible hostages. The bus was still moving with the original MTA bus driver at the wheel. The hijacker reportedly had a gun and had possibly shot one of the hostages. An LAFD TEMS team and supervisor were dispatched to this dynamic incident to support the efforts of the LAPD SWAT team. The TEMS team members are highly trained in both tactical medicine and LAPD SWAT operations. They are required to take an additional 120 hours of training above and beyond their firefighter and paramedic training. Members assigned to the TEMS unit are responsible for providing emergency medical care to law enforcement officers and/or citizens who become ill or injured during high-risk tactical law enforcement incidents. Firefighter paramedics in this assignment also educate, train, and provide support to regional law enforcement and fire agencies, and provide subject matter expertise in tactical incidents, such as active shooter and/or terrorist incidents. On this morning, the TEMS team members arrived as the bus was disabled and stopped by the LAPD officers using spike strips. As the TEMS supervisor was being briefed, the situation escalated quickly, and due to a hostage rescue situation, LAPD SWAT, without notice, made entry onto the bus using flashbangs and .40 caliber rounds. The suspect was secured, and LAFD received word that there was a victim down on the bus. Without hesitation, TEMS team members entered the bus and began rendering aid to the hostage, who was unconscious and not breathing, but reportedly had a pulse. Additional LAFD resources assisted the TEMS team to treat and transport the patient suffering from 2 gunshot wounds to a local trauma center, where he would unfortunately be determined deceased. The suspect would also undergo assessment, treatment, and transport to a local area hospital. Despite the hostage's demise, this incident highlights the brave work the members of the TEMS team performs, providing the highest level, most expeditious patient care possible and giving victims their best chance of survival. That concludes my report, if there's any questions.
Commissioner Woods Gray, questions?
That was a very tragic incident.
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have a question? No, we're good. Okay. Thank you. That brings us down to item 4, which is presentations. We do have a presentation. Hi.
Ma'am.
How are you?
Well, thank you. Hi, Madam President, fellow commissioners, Fire Chief Crowley, City Attorney, LAFD administration, and guests. I don't think we've ever had a safer fire commission with all of you here, so thank you for being a part of this. And as you've likely deducted, this morning's presentation is unique in that we're not honoring one of our own members as usual, but we're actually honoring police officers who are our fellow first responders, always there by our side as we go to emergencies, as well as a courageous videographer who's been a longtime friend of the LAFD, because together all of them jumped into action to save a 14-year-old girl who was behind the wheel of a car that had crashed and erupted into flames in Encino, and tragically this incident left one passenger deceased. So we'd like to call up the following members to please come next to the podium. This will be Officer Yulan Castillo, Kevin Hernandez, Alexander Martinez, Shane Underwood, and videographer Howard Raichbrook. Now, this single vehicle crash took place just after midnight. This was on February 20th of this year in Encino near Ventura Boulevards and Balboa. You could probably picture that busy area. And these officers had actually attempted to pull over the vehicle because it was driving without its lights on. Rather than yield and pull over, unfortunately, they sped away, Shortly thereafter, they wrapped themselves around a light pole and had a very significant collision. And we actually have some dramatic video footage of this incident where these officers and videographer, they worked together. They attempt to extinguish the flames. You'll see them actually grabbing fire extinguishers from their vehicles and trying to extinguish these intense flames, and also to smash out the windows with tools or weapons they had on hand to free somebody that was in the rear passenger. So we'll please take a moment to watch this about 2-minute video.
A 14-year-old driver behind the wheel of a vehicle that killed a 16-year-old passenger. Another teenager pulled out of the burning Toyota Camry. Eyewitness News reporter Carlos Granda caught up with a witness who ran to help when he came across the fiery crash in Encino.
A horrific accident, the vehicle slamming into a pole and then bursting into flames.
Is anyone else in the car?
Video shows police officers battling the flames and the heat and desperately trying to check who was in the car and to put out the fire. It happened just after midnight at the corner of Ventura and Balboa Boulevard. Police say it started when officers tried to pull over the car for not having its headlights on. But the car did not stop. They say it sped away. The surveillance video shows the car going south on Balboa Avenue. This was just seconds before the crash.
As I'm running up, I'm 20, 30 feet. I can already feel the heat, so I'm running into an inferno, essentially. And the wheels can explode, the airbags can go off.
Police say a 14-year-old was behind the wheel. That driver and an 18-year-old passenger were pulled out with minor injuries. Police say one has a broken leg, but a third person, a passenger in the back seat, died. The family of that victim brought these flowers to the scene, but did not want to comment. Howard Racebrook is a photographer who captured the horrifying scene and tried to help.
They were pulling 2 people out. I heard one of the victims say there's someone else in the car, so I ran back, grabbed my fire extinguisher, tried to help. I mean, I put the fire extinguisher through, it didn't seem to do too much. And luckily the fire station was a block away, so they came, put the fire out.
Police say the car had been reported stolen, and the person who reported it is related to one of the people in the car. The crash is under investigation, and the LAPD says it can't confirm yet if the driver will face any charges. Reporting from Encino, I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
A trial date.
Thank you, Captain Kingsland. We thought that video would be much better than me trying to verbally articulate what had transpired. So just for clarification, there were 3 people inside of that vehicle, and 2 were rescued because of their hard work. And that was a 14-year-old driver that sustained minor injuries, and then also an 18-year-old woman that was in the front passenger seat that had a broken leg. Tragically, still in the rear of that vehicle was a 16-year-old female that did pass away. But as you also probably heard mentioned, there's inherent dangers to vehicle fires. And so these people did not have the protective equipment that we firefighters have. So there's very intense heat. Things can explode during vehicle fires. So more accolades to their heroic work. And I think we'd all agree that simply put, if it were not for their efforts of these brave individuals that are standing here, that the outcome would have been far worse. So we'd like to just read one certificate and then give them a rightful round of applause. It says, your bravery, quick thinking, and dedicated assistance in saving a young woman's life during a traffic accident that resulted in a rapidly growing auto fire on February 20th, 2024 in the Encino community of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles City Fire Department commends you for your heroic actions in saving a citizen of the city of Los Angeles. Presented on this first day of October 2024, Kristen M. Crowley, Fire Chief.
And if I may, just take a moment very quickly, just to take this moment in with our LAPD partners, our relationship, our sense of pride and honor to stand with our LAPD every single day. This is just an incredible opportunity to highlight what this relationship looks like. So for the officers and our incredible videographer here who sees stuff every single day, this is just one. Let me just be very clear. One of many, many things that our LAFD and LAPD do every single day when we put ourselves, in the most extreme circumstances. This is one that we were able to capture on video. But I do want to highlight the entirety of what our mission is from being first responders from the city perspective. And I'm so honored that we can highlight these individuals here today. We'll continue to work very, very hard with our partners to make sure that we do provide that exceptional public safety to the communities that we serve. And it's a very special reminder as we have LAPD here, like Captain Scott was saying, that normally we'll pull our fire department personnel or civilian personnel, but PD's doing this every single day. And I think it's really, really important that we take the time to highlight the efforts of our partners. So we're really proud of you. I'm sure your chief's very proud of you, but I'm even more prouder of you today. And just thank you for doing what you did. And we're going to continue to push really hard. So thanks, everybody, and congratulations. One other thing, I see the families. I had the opportunity just to meet everybody very briefly. So if we could have the family stand up, please, we'd like to also show our appreciation for you. Thank you to the families. So, and it is important. I mean, we have some kids here, we have spouses, we have family members, and I tell you, as a family member, I know that we know that our people put themselves at risk every single day, and they're willing to sacrifice a lot. And I think that the families are just or more important for us to recognize in regard to your sacrifice. So thank you for sharing your loved ones with us. And again, we're going to continue to push and strive to keep everybody safe, but thank you for going above and beyond. So congratulations, everybody. Real quick, they have some other comments too.
But they can come and do that. I think the other important thing about this is every day on the news, at some point in time, we hear things that are detrimental to the Los Angeles Police Department. People that are watching this commission meeting, and I think more and more people watch, this is a way for us to shine a light on really and truly what the Los Angeles Police Department does and what it means to the safety of the city. They had no equipment. They've not had any training in putting a fire out. But because they're dedicated and because they understand that they're first responders and safety is their business, they took it upon themselves to do what they needed to do in partnership with LAFD. And so I think that's the other thing that needs to be highlighted. These individuals with no protective gear, no real training at putting out fires, did the very best that they could, and they saved lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you go take a picture. And we're going to move over.
Okay, we'll get one with them by themselves, and then I'll hop in there, and then we'll bring the LAPD command staff up, and then we'll have the families come up. All right, let me step in the middle of this. I gotta give this to Chief Choi. Okay, LAPD command staff, you good? And we can stand probably here. Again, another picture for Chief Choi. Yes. What do you miss? See everybody in there? I think we're bring up one, the family, come on up. We're gonna bring you up, we gotta highlight you. Over to the right side. Thank you. Okay. I love that idea. So let's bring up, whose family is this? Okay, so we'll get a family. You guys step down for a sec, we'll bring your families up. We're going to do an individual picture with and then we're going to do an individual over here. Like that.
Stand in front of Dad.
I'll do one with and then one Family step up. Family help me. Okay, come on up. Next one. Thank you, everybody. Come on in. Next family. Yeah, you're over here. Come on, get in front. One with, one without. Okay, without. Okay, next family, come on over. Congratulations, thank you. Thanks for sharing them with us. All right. Okay, hold up. Go ahead. All right, awesome. All right. Next one, Jim. All right, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. See out there, okay?
You look so shushy today. We have public comment now.
Yes, but yes, okay.
That's okay, we're good. Thank you, Renee.
Very cute. Right.
I'm nice.
You're such a great orchestrator.
Oh. You know, what? Yeah. She wanted to be elected. She better fix that. Okay, before we move on to our consent agenda items, we do have 3 public comment cards, and so I'm going to take that public comment. We're just going to kind of be a little bit interrupted in our regular, because people that take the time to come down, I really do want to be able to hear them. So, they came in no order, so I'm going to take Richard Ramirez first. He's a director from UFLAC.
Good morning. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to speak out of order at this time, so I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and speak on, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you for allowing me the time also to speak out of order also. I'm going to speak on 5A, 6A, and general public comment. My name is Rich Ramirez. I'm a director, UFLAC, Local 112, and a firefighter paramedic also. I want to go ahead and speak today, this morning, the department's interim budget request for 16 positions in the fleet maintenance, and also to provide comments on the adopted LAFD budget to our current fiscal year of 2024 and 2025. UFLAC strongly supports this request. Some of you might remember that this last budget cycle, just a few months ago, we had a fight for an additional 5 mechanics positions in the fleet maintenance because they were cut in the proposed budget. Thankfully, with the support of council members Tracy Park and Tim McCosker, we were able to restore 5 positions. Even though it was less than the 10 total positions that the department had asked for, 5 mechanics and the fleet maintenance positions were much better than nothing. I would encourage each member of the Fire Commission to visit the Supply and Maintenance Division Yard in Lincoln Heights if you haven't already had the chance to do so. You'll see rows and rows of fire engines, fire trucks, rescue ambulances, and many other vehicles that are broken down, have been sitting there for months, if not years. Our mechanics are stressed, they're overworked, and they don't have enough time to do the proper maintenance on our rigs, which serves the citizens of Los Angeles. It makes no sense to have $1 million fire trucks and engines sit in the shops because we aren't willing to pay a fraction of that price to hire enough mechanics to keep them rolling. The city finds a way to spend $1.4 billion each year on homeless programs, but we have to beg and plead for $500,000 to get 5 additional mechanics at the shops. I myself am a grandson, a son, and a nephew of diesel mechanics and had the opportunity to grow up around this field and also body shops. These members give all they can, and it's a skilled craft that they have, and they take pride when on the news when they see that their rigs are out there operating to save the citizens of Los Angeles, when it's pumping multiple GPMs. We have members on the tips of aerials, and they remember just, if not a few days, weeks ago, that they fixed this rig, and now it's serving the citizens of Los Angeles. It's important to them, it's important to us. Fire Commission, we need your help. We are asking to work. May I continue?
Go on.
Thank you. We are asking to work with you to make the case for why the LAFD needs to be fully funded. We support this. The mayor and the city council are going to have to make some very hard choices in the months to come. And I would argue that there's nothing more important than keeping our city safe. That's what your LAFD firefighters and paramedics do every single day. I want to thank you for this time.
Thank you. Our next comment card is for Adam Walker, who is the secretary of UFLAC.
Good morning, Madam President, Fire Commission Board, Chief Crowley, and executive staff. I also say thank you for letting us speak out of order. My name is Adam Walker. I'll be speaking on all agenda items and general public comment. I am an apparatus operator for the LAFD and secretary with the United Firefighters of LA City. As the chair of UFLAC Health and Safety, I am here today to make you aware of a very significant safety concern happening in the field regarding radio communications. The radio communications system for the LAFD is very sophisticated and unique and was designed to provide a superior level of firefighter safety using an analog conventional simulcast system. Unfortunately, right now, members in the field are experiencing issues with communicating on these radios on a daily basis. The number of instances are simply unknown, but I can tell you that I have experienced them in the field, and I know that chief officers have experienced them in the field, and this is a known problem. Over the past several months, it's increased. For a little background, about 5 years ago, the LAFD purchased new handheld radios, updating to a new model. just like upgrading your iPhone from an iPhone 10 to an iPhone 15, this new radio came along with a list of capabilities and features that actually would allow the LAFD to go from a 3-radio system for the LAFD, LAPD, and our VHF to a single handheld radio with multi-band capabilities. Right before it was being deployed into the field, it was identified that it was not performing well when compared to the previous model. Several things took place after that, and a work group worked with IT as well as Motorola, and Motorola designed a new antenna that the work group was satisfied enough to put it in place as a temporary solution, knowing that it didn't fully fix the issue. UFLAC was involved in this work group, and it was understood that this solution was temporary and that upgrades were going to be done to our 9-repeater system. I have inquired about these upgrades, and one of the things I'm asking of you today is to do the same thing. Our radios are our lifeline. Yesterday, Verizon Wireless had an outage affecting millions of people, resulting in some level of chaos and panic out there. However, I highly doubt anyone affected was trapped or lost inside of a burning building, attempting to call for help and realizing their message was not being received. Nonetheless, Verizon issued a statement within hours to all their customers acknowledging the issue that they quickly fixed, expressing that they understand that customers rely on their phones for several important things, highlighting including emergencies. I'm not looking for an apology. I don't pretend to know anything about radio frequencies, nor do I believe that I can tell you what the exact problem is. But as an end user, it is evident that there is a problem, and the department is aware of it. I am asking you to inquire about this situation and be updated regarding the solutions that are being put in place. Please support the fire department with whatever they need to fix this extremely important safety issue, and ensure the members of this fire department and their safety is a top priority. Thank you.
Thank you. And our last public comment card is Freddie Escobar, who is the president of UFLAC.
President Hudley Hayes, as the others, thank you very much. Good afternoon. And before I actually start my comments on all the agenda items and public comment, I want to correct something that you mentioned. You said we're the best fire department in the nation. I'm saying we're the best department in the world.
I agree.
So, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And also, I want to thank Fire Chief Crowley and her command staff. She mentioned about the memorial, and she's been true to her word since she's taken over, that our families and the members that she represents is a priority. And from the bottom of my heart, representing 3,400 brothers and sisters, along with Chris Stein, the president of the Relief Association, the collaboration that we do for the memories of those that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. We thank you and your command staff for supporting it every single year, 3 times a year. Thank you very much. As mentioned, my name is Freddie Escobar, and I'm proud to be the president of the United Firefighters of Los Angeles City, representing 3,400 brothers and sisters of the LAFD. I'm here today to address an issue that was brought up at the last Fire Commission meeting 2 weeks ago. At that meeting, there was a discussion of the massive fire that Chief Fields talked about on September 13th that injured at least 6 people, including 2 LAFD firefighters, and left 50 individuals and families displaced from their homes. 50 individuals, including families, children, and seniors, are now left without a home. At the last commission meeting, Commissioner Tapia asked the chief if he knew how the fire started. The chief did his best to answer the question, and I don't fault him for being careful, because I know that there is pressure on the department to sometimes not give the entire story. Let me be perfectly clear. The fire was started by a homeless squatter at the encampment in a vacant building next door, period. Some people may be afraid of saying the right thing, or maybe they have been told not to. But I'm here to tell you, UFLAC will continue to tell the truth. Not to saying that anyone's not telling the truth, is that they just have different roles, and we respect that. How are we ever going to solve a problem if we can't talk about what is really happening? Homeless fires are happening just about every single day in our city. In fact, last year, LAFD firefighters and paramedics responded to more than 66,000 total emergency calls for service involving a homeless person. That's more than 180 calls every single day where we're responding to at least one homeless person who is involved with a fire, an overdose, an assault, or some other type of emergency. The homeless crisis is not getting better, and nobody is taking any sort of accountability for what's happening in our streets. According to an LA Times article from just a couple of days ago, homeless squatters have been causing fires at this location for several years now, but nothing was done because we don't enforce our laws and just coddle our homeless while regular, everyday single people have to suffer. In this case, an elderly Chinese American resident and families got burned out of their homes and now have to stay in emergency shelters and local hotels. As I've said time and time again, what we are doing is not working. And I want to finish with this. It's passionate, not only to myself, but I know all these commanders and everybody in here. The problem is, and I don't want to get emotional, we've injured our members. What's going to happen when one of them pays the ultimate sacrifice? We have no enforcement. We see it every single day when we go on these calls. Enough is enough. I want to thank you for championing this commission, but what we're doing is not working. And the angels have been watching over us, but they're not going to one day and one night. We need to fix what's happening, and it's not fair for the brothers and sisters that I represent and for these chief officers who have to see it in their face every single day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to now move back. I do want to say to the three people that came from UFLAC, I believe that the chief hears you, and we hear you, Freddie. We do. So we're going to move back to, I didn't want that to go unsaid, as though you just came and made some statements and we just said, oh, okay, we'll just, okay. We do hear you, and we're as concerned as you are.
Thank you.
Sorry. Item 5, so these are the consent agenda items, A through E. Does anybody want any of these pulled off of the consent calendar?
No.
Okay. So can I get a motion to follow all the recommendations? Can I say that, or do I need to read every recommendation? Can I just say we're going to move all the recommendations? A through E. Okay.
Madam President, I move that we approve items 5A through E on the consent agenda items.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That takes us to item 6. We only have one regular agenda item today, and that's the report providing overview of the adopted budget for fiscal year 2024-25. Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Emilio Rodriguez. I'm the fire administrator for LAFD. Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Crowley, City Attorney Nguyen, and Ms. Ramirez. Again, thank you for the opportunity to continue discussion on the FY 24-25 adopted budget for the department. My comments will be brief, and then we'll be open for questions. Again, recent years have been a difficult budget year for the city, and budget years for the city, which have resonated in our fiscal planning, not only for the fire department, but most, if not all, general funded departments. Accordingly, in the current year, FY 24-25, LAFD's adopted budget was limited to some of its most pressing frontline needs, including just under $14 million for recruit hiring, which funds 3 classes at the Valley Recruit Training Academy for a total of 220 recruits to maintain attrition in the field. There was a $3.8 million collectively for fire suppression frontline needs, including attention to the wildland field management crew program for brush fire mitigation and turnout gear cyclical replacement needs. $2 million to enhance EMS, emergency management service capacity in the field, including paramedic training and recruitment programs and advanced practitioner response unit staffing. A particularly big win for the department was in the MICLA fleet replacement category. We received $58 million for our cyclical replacement needs on the apparatus on the field, as well as some new purchases that are needed for some of the staffing that has been added over recent years without the appropriate fleet equipment. Over the last several years, the department has only been receiving about half this amount on the MICLA side, so that's one significant achievement to note for the current year. Also on the capital side, we received about $8.3 million for capital improvement needs across fire facilities, including expanding the electrical vehicle charging infrastructure to support increasing usage, at least on the inspection and civilian side for those infrastructure needs, and ongoing repairs to stations and ADA improvements for the Frank Hodgkin Memorial Training Center. In view of this, the department is making the most of its existing resources to maintain a high level of frontline operations and, on the civilian side, handling city business as diligently as possible, particularly on some of our background but critical operations that include payroll, paying our bills on time, supporting our apparatus fleet, keeping our technology needs in check, and maximizing our reimbursements. This has been achieved through the use of overtime and cross-training members to provide support in short staff areas. But of course, a longer-term strategy is to get staffing back to a sustainable level through the budget process, in addition to some of our interim requests, which were on our agenda today. So with that, that concludes my report. Be open to any questions.
Do you have questions?
I do.
Go.
Thank you. I have a few questions. I was struck by the amount of overtime. It seems like it's almost, my bad math looks like it's like $300 million in overtime, which seems crazy. And I know you said the long-term strategy is getting staffing back up. So one question I have, and I've got a couple others after this, but how are we going to implement that strategy to get staffing back up?
I can go ahead and answer that. So just to be very specific with our current budget, so we're 3 months into our current budget, we continue to see an increase in call volume, and we have not increased our overall staffing. So as we lean forward, we still need to continue through this fiscal budget year. And I have to be very clear, is we cannot continue to maintain this position that we're in with inadequate number of staff. So the way that we are supplementing that is through overtime, is through force hiring or assign hiring our people. So strategy moving forward is to do a deep dive and absolutely look at the way we dispatch, who we dispatch, how we dispatch, and be more efficient on the very front end. That work is happening now. That's one thing that we can control. Another thing is identifying what types of calls we actually can make ourselves available for, which is we've spread ourselves so thin because we take on more and more missions that may be further and further away from our core fundamentals of saving lives and property, and protecting property, I should say. So our command staff, our team, with the input of our boots on the ground, is how are we going to provide the core mission of what and who we are as first responders. We're reallocating the positions that we have. So some of those services will be tapped down in regard to the really nice to haves, which are important for us to continue, but we can't continue down this path. So that's our focus for the next 8 to 9 months within this fiscal year. And that next focus is how do we build out a resource deployment plan with proper staffing, proper funding, with the flexibility of ensuring that we are meeting the mark and meeting the expectations of the communities that we serve. So we will be asking for and advocating for and educating everybody that needs to be educated in regard to the path that their and our LAFD needs to take to have a system in place that we can sustain. So again, to be clear, we cannot continue down this path with the resources that we have, so we're adjusting. We're adjusting the resources and the staffing that we have. Mind you also that our firefighters are fatigued and we have an increase in injuries as well. It'll always be in the forefront of our minds, firefighter health, safety, and well-being. So that will help us dictate what direction we're going to go in for this next remaining fiscal year, let alone as we're working through 25-26 budget, being realistic in our expectations of the amount of staffing that we need, proven by a third party, 2 standards of covers that shows that we are understaffed and under-resourced, and then work with city leadership, the mayor's office, mayor's team, budget and finance, public safety, then to educate and inform so that city leadership can make those determinations of when we have so many competing interests within the city, where we are going to land from the fire department perspective.
Thank you. And you sort of answered my next question, but I'll just say it for rhetorical purposes. How do the items that were not funded affect implementing both standards of cover reports, and what's the plan going forward? I think you
Right.
did
So,
speak to that.
yes, just I spoke briefly on that. And obviously, as we're moving forward and creating our strategies for 25-26, we do have some very, very important documents that are before us. One is the original standards of cover that did demonstrate that the LAFD is approximately 380 positions short. And mind you, that's from 2018 to 2020. We have a newer standards of cover where we partnered with the International Association of Firefighters that did even a wider look across the city in regard to response times. So we're working closely with them. We have the data. It does show that we're understaffed, under-resourced. So again, that is all third-party performance metrics that we're looking at in regard to how we're systematically going to build our department. And I'll say it from this point forward, is the LAFD should be a 4,000-member department. Now it's a matter of how we're going to get there in a timely manner, understanding the competing interests with the budget. But the data does show that. It demonstrates that. We know what's coming within the city with all of the large special events and the Olympics. My goal, our goal, is to get us to that 4,000-member department in 4 years. And that's what we're going to strive for.
And thank you. One final, and thank you for that. And I think it really makes a lot of sense. And also what you were saying about sticking with the core mission work. Would you feel comfortable giving an example of what are some of the nice but not essential things that maybe we would not be able to?
Sure. So that's all in the works as we speak. Our emergency operations commander and administrative operations commanders working with our team to understand, as we're spread thin organizationally, we're going to have to go back to the core fundamentals. So I'll give you an example. A B call. Not somebody that got stung. There's a number of certain types of calls that we would go on that we have other city services that could provide that service. Maybe not you call 911 and you immediately have a fire engine that's responding to a lower level call. It may be a longer type of response for the city. Now, we're going to be very mindful, let me be very clear, just to say, we're going to stop doing this. It's working with the other city departments, understanding that the city has the capacity to still provide these services, but we've got to look at a narrowed scope where the LAFD focuses back on our core fundamentals, which is saving lives and protecting property. Some other special duty positions, we're not sure what it's going to look like, but we know that everything's important, but we have to triage. And we have to look at where we are within the times of the fiscal health of the city and start to draw down resources so that we can meet our mission of our core functionality. So we have a number of those in the hopper. We will certainly be able to provide the data of why we're making these decisions, what would be our game plan in the future once funded in those other positions that we would like to bring those back. But we've got certain areas within the department that are very important, let's just say, but not when it comes to our core functionalities of us being able to support the field resources where we do not have the capacity to stay in this position of responding to over 1,500 calls a day and transporting over 650 patients to the hospital every single day. Mind you, 1,000 calls used to be a lot for us. And we're actually doing it with less people. So we've got to be very smart, strategic, clearly articulate the needs and communicate with city leadership for the right reasons so that they can make a well-informed decision on where the limited budget may go, and just to make sure that they're fully informed when they're making those very, very important decisions for this next budget.
My dispatch is a very important linchpin. Thank you.
Madam President.
Yes, Commissioner Woods Gray.
I would like to ask the chief about the Frank Hodgkins infrastructure repairs. We were working, at one point, there was talk of getting an elevator to the second floor. Is this Disabilities Act money, Americans, is that toward that, or what is that money toward?
Right. So I know we've got a master plan of the infrastructure support from Frank Hodgkins, and we were funded a certain amount of money. I would have to defer that to our fire facilities. We'd be happy to come back to report on Frank Hodgkins specifically, if you like, or to identify where and how we're utilizing the limited funds on infrastructure. I wrote down a note here, and I'm glad that you brought that up, from what are our priorities, and that is the staffing, firefighter health, safety, well-being, as well as infrastructure. Our infrastructure within our fire departments and our 115 fire facilities, we haven't had the funds to upkeep those and improve those, let alone the master plan of building additional fire stations. So we've got a lot in the works with a potential bond in 2026, but certainly we're not sitting back on our heels. We know how important this is to be very mindful and strategic in validating and justifying what we're asking for, but we need long-term strategies to make sure that we're building our department out accordingly so we can meet the needs. And the infrastructure piece, like Frank Hodgkins, is one of the 115 facilities. But we do have something in the works for, obviously, to be ADA compliant with the elevators. And there's a number of other tenant improvements, or I should say improvements of Frank Hodgkins that we're funded for, but we're triaging those. And we're also asking for additional money in our 25-26.
Okay, so the things that are listed here are the things you're asking for.
This is a 25-26, and if it's in there, then we were funded for it. You want to talk about just what we were funded?
Yes, on the side, I was wondering
Yeah.
on the safety request.
So we were funded for certain amounts of budget for infrastructure, and we did receive monies for Frank Hodgkins. Do you know the details on that, Emilio?
Again, we're talking about 24-25 adopted, so I know for Frank Hodgkin alone, it was about $1 million to, it was to address some of the basic ADA improvements. I don't know if that amount includes elevator funding. It would seem I just have to look into that to get more on the specifics.
Yeah, but we were funded the $1 million for infrastructure support at Frank Hodgkins. We have our subject matter expert, Chief Mullen, here, but we could absolutely report on what is our game plan for that.
Give it to me. I'm not sure if the rest of the commissioners want that information.
Sure, whatever you need, we can do that.
I think it's better if you just send it to everybody.
Okay.
That way we all hold the same information.
Okay.
Okay, we can send you that information.
Can they just send it to us, Linda? Yeah.
Okay.
We don't need to have it as a
As the item.
presentation, as an item on the budget, but just send it to all of us.
That's
Or
fine.
do we have to put it on the,
No, you don't need to.
okay, because this is just information. Right.
And if I could, I just want to clarify, Matt, you also asked for what else are we looking at? I did get the laundry list. It would be bee calls, fallen trees, lockouts, leaking hydrants, minor flooding, snakes. So those are things that we respond to. Unless you were bitten or stung.
Right.
We have animal control services, so, there is a city service for that. So we just have to be mindful that we're looking at it from a more narrow lens of how the fire department provides services, and we look at it from the perspective of emergency services, saving lives and protecting property is our mindset at this point.
Thank you.
So is there a way that somebody calls into 911, right? And they say something that automatically triggers them to call the fire department, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way that there can be a quick analysis to determine whether or not we need to go out? Because I've been in now quite a number of fire stations, and they have the same concern that you have.
Right.
So is that something that we are obligated legally to do, that whenever a call comes in, no matter how much it is outside of our, not just our core mission, but even a little bit expanded mission, we just have to respond?
Right. So that's where we have our experts working on the types of calls we have to respond to for the right reasons versus we've just responded to because. So they're doing a deep dive in those types of calls. And the other piece is, I mentioned it earlier, is just we've got an amazing team that can put together a tremendous program moving forward in regard to matching the level of the acuity of the need of the caller. So we're being very smart and mindful about how and who we're dispatching. Maybe outside of the fire department mission, so we have 311. We need to expand the services on that side. What does that look like from the city umbrella in regard to all the other 38, 39, 40 city departments, but also being mindful of we still have a duty to serve the community as a city, and it's a shared sacrifice. So the other piece, and we've talked about it briefly, is just our ability to leverage technology, look at our increased capacity of validating with technology with a video 911 call. There's technology out there. Our team's looking into that. San Antonio Fire Department's using it right now, or at least something like it. So now our dispatchers can look at it and say, show me. And in the end, then the dispatcher can look at it and go, okay, that's a 311 call. Or, oh, yeah, we need to upgrade this. This is somebody who is not breathing, or this is somebody we would have normally given CPR instructions to, because we're only as good as the person with the information that we're receiving on the other end. Show me the patient and they're breathing. Okay, we don't need to give CPR instructions. So I'm really excited about leveraging technology and working with Metro on that, working with our Information Technology Bureau, and figuring out more efficient ways to dispatch and more just exact ways to dispatch, so we're maximizing our resources that we have and not over dispatching. And right now, it feels somewhat like, well, we're only as good as the caller. So I'd like to move in that direction to explore that aggressively, so that, again, those are some of the things we can control on the front end versus just, sending. Right, and it's just because there may be a more efficient way to do it, so I'd like to explore that.
Okay. I think I would, I'm sorry, did you have another question?
Whenever you're finished.
No,
yes.
go.
Last meeting, we talked about some kind of a fee or something that would help to bring in more money. And I was looking here I see the Fire Services Development Impact Fee. Nexus study.
Yes.
How is that going to work, and who will when will we do it, and
Yes, so
hear more about that?
the good news is we were funded for that, and I believe that was an add back. So we were able to add that back into the budget. It was fully funded, so I was just briefed on that by our team, and it's in the RFP process. So we're looking to validate, okay, what is that RFP or the contract going to look like so people can bid for the contract? And then from that point, we would select the candidate, they would be awarded the contract, and then we move forward with that Nexus study. Without the Nexus study, and this is the good news, is we can now move forward with the Nexus study and now create a developer fee that we can now work into our budget that would allow us to capitalize on monies coming in and revenue, and then we could utilize that revenue to help us supplement on our staffing or infrastructure in a lot of different ways. So this is a big step forward for us, and that's where we are with the RFP or the
And
contract.
This wouldn't be going into general fund.
No, I believe it would be
Case to the fire department.
that's my understanding. It would be a special fund.
And I know it's prospective only, so the sooner we do it, we're losing money by not doing it, so.
Right. No, believe me, we get the sense of urgency, and the good news is it's funded. So we're working diligently and controlling everything we can with the information that we need to push out. As you know, there's many layers within the city that it needs to move through, but I can assure you, moving through as diligently and quickly as we can. We know what's at stake. We know that this is potential funding that the fire department and we can utilize to better, staff and equip our department. So we're going to push that through as quickly as possible.
Oh, good, thanks.
Are you done? You good?
Thanks, I'm good.
Okay. I don't really have a specific comment other than to say, when, as Vice President DeLucas just pointed out, when we have $300 million in overcost funding, that's one of the things that we need to be able to point out to the city. It is not a financially responsible way to use the city's money, because they're deciding to cut us in other areas, and then we have to, in fact, do overtime. And then they complain because we have so much overtime, without understanding that we wouldn't have that $300 million, which we could get back into our budget if we could get some of these other things taken care of. I would like to say, I want to thank you for offering to come back. Vice President DeLucas asked if you could come back and talk to us about the difference between critical needs and priorities. I think it's important that the commission understand what the critical needs are, where the linkages are, and what happens when we drop a pebble into the loss of funding for a critical need, how that plays out with the rest of our priorities. The other thing that I want to say to you, too, is I've now been in 19 fire stations, and for the record, I think that it is, in many instances, deplorable for the city to allow our fire stations to look the way they look, understanding that these people are sleeping in these fire stations. And yet, I am finding that our people, because of the integrity that they have, are upgrading city property with their own money. And I find that totally unacceptable. So I just want to go on the record as saying that. I don't think we can any longer ask our people. This has to do with health. This has to do with stress. When you come back from a stressful situation, which they have every time they go, it's a traumatic experience for them, they should be able to come back to fire stations that have been upgraded, that are safe, and that are places that they should be without some of the things.
What are some of the things the department is doing to be able to do that?
Okay? All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Millen.
Okay, that brings us to the...
Madam President, would
I'm
you like a
sorry,
motion?
Commissioner
to-
Woods Gray.
Oh, I move that we receive and file BFC 24-073.
I second.
We have a motion, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And that brings us to adjournment.
That's it.
Can I get a motion?
Do you need a motion?
Second.
I move we adjourn this meeting. Yeah.
Second.
And you seconded?
I did.
Been moved and seconded, we're adjourned.